रंग गंधर्विक गिरधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जीव की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जीव की जय। श्री श्री राधा माधव जीव की जय। जय नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीला एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीला भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीला भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीला भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्यलीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीला भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय महाभागवत श्रील गौर किशोर दास गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री श्रील सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री श्रील जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री गौरी वेदांताचार्य बलदेव विद्याभूषण प्रभु की जय। श्रील विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। श्री नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्राय की जय। श्रील कृष्ण दास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। जय श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ सर गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्रील स्वरूप दामोदर राय रमानंदादि गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री अंतर्द्वीप मायापुर सीमंत द्वीप कोदुम द्वीप मध्य द्वीप खोल द्वीप ऋतुद्वीप जनद्वीप मोद द्रुम द्वीप रुद्रद्वीप आत्मक श्री श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जय श्री श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो गोवर्धन द्वादश वनात्मक श्री ब्रज मंडल धाम की जय। श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री श्री राधा गोविंद राधा गोपीनाथ राधा मदन मोहन जीव की जय। श्री श्री राधा गोकुलानंद राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा रमन राधा दामोदर जीव की जय। श्रीमती ललित विशाखा आदि अष्ट सखी वृंद की जय। श्री रूप मंजरी रति मंजरी नंग मंजरी आदि मंजरी वृंद की जय। श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय। श्रीमती पौर्णमासी योग माय देवी की जय। श्री गोपीश्वर महादेव की जय। सर्वाभीष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र जीव की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र धाम की जय। भक्ति विघ्न विनाशन श्री नृसिंह देव की जय। भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। चारों धाम चारों संप्रदाय चारों आचार्य की जय। आकर मत राज श्री चैतन्य मत की जय और अनन्य शाखा मत समूह की जय। श्री विश्व वैष्णव राज सभा की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। त्रिभुवन पावन हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल हरि नाम प्रभु की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। सचिनंदन गौर हरि की जय। श्री नित्यानंद महाजन की जय। श्री पंच तत्व की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री निताय गौर प्रेम आनंदे। हरि हरि बोल। वंदे हम श्री गुरु श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्री गुरु वैष्णवांश्च श्री रूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगना ललिता शिवशाकान्वितंश्च। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिरक्षक श्रीधर गोस्वामिनिति नामने। नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकायै प्रियात्मने श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत नारायणीति नामने। श्री कृष्ण लीला कथने सुदक्षम औदार्य मधुर्य गुणैश्च युक्तम वरम वरेण्यम पुरुषम महांतम नारायणं तं शिरसा नमामि। श्रीदंडिनां भक्त शिरोमणिं च श्रीकृष्णपादाब्जधृतैकहृदि चैतन्यलीलामृतसारसारं नारायणं तं सततं प्रपद्ये। नमो विष्णुपादाय आचार्य सिंहरूपिणे श्री श्रीमद्भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव इति नामनि। अतिमर्त्याचरित्राय स्वश्रितानंश पालने जीवदुःखे सदार्ताय श्रीनाम प्रेमदायने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती नामने। शिवार्षवानवि देवी ताय कृपब्दये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्य उज्ज्वल प्रेमाद्या श्रीरूपानुग भक्तिदा श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्ताय दीनतारणे रूपानुग विरुद्धाप सिद्धांत द्वंत हरणे। नमो गौर किशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्य मूर्तये विप्रलम्भा रसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते। गुराविर्भाव भूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्ट सज्जन प्रिया वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha namo mahabhajanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gaura trishe namaha Nityanandam namastubhyam premananda pradayane Kalo kalmashanashaya Janava pataye namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakanshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Suruto Pangor Mamamandamater Gati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Shrimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Shrimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalabi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vam Shivata Tatatistitaha Karshanavenu Swanair Gopir Gopinata Shriestunaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptascha Kamadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prabhanna Vrinde Namaste Charanaravinda Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We will sing Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya song. Can give kartals. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Karo E Dase Trinapekayati Hina. Yeah, hello? Parcel. Yeah, coming. Okay. Hina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trinapeka Atihina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase. Sakala Sahane bolodiya koro nijamane spriha hina sakala sahane sakala sahane bolodiya koro sakala sahane nijamane sprihahina nijamane sprihahina Gurudev kripa bindu diya koro edase trinapeka atihina Gurudev kripa bindu diya koro edase trinapeka atihina sakale saman korite shakati deho nata jata jata tabe to gaibo harinama suke 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 aparada habe hata aparada habe hata aparada habe hata aparada habe hata Gurudev kripa bindu diya koro edase trinapekai atihina Gurudev kripa bindu diya koro edase trinapekai atihina O kabe heno kripa labia ejan kritartha hoibe nata kabe heno kripa labia ejan kritartha hoibe nata kabe heno kripa labia ejan kritartha hoibe nata kripa labia ejan kritartha hoibe nata shakti buddhihin ami ati din shakti buddhihin ami ati din koro more atma sada koro more atma sada koro more atma sada koro more sada Gurudev kripa bindu diya koro edase trinapekayati hina Gurudev kripa bindu diya koro edase yogyatya vichare kichu nahi pai tomara karuna sa yogyatya vichare yogyatya vichare kichu nahi pai tomara karuna sa kichu nahi pai tomara karuna sa O karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya Karuna na hoile kandia 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 prananara kibo prananara kibo prananara kibo prananara kibo Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trunapekayati Hina 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 Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Oh, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Oh Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Bolo Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jai Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jai Nitai Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Nitai 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 Gauranga Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari, Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. So first of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Ashtatarasata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. My Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Then my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali I am offering at the lotus feet of my most worshipable Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Lila Pravishta. Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Shila. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Shila. Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavis. So, we're now returning back to our study of Srila Prabhupada's presentation of Ras Panchadhyay in his 10th canto summary study called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we had read a little bit into that first chapter. So, but when I look at it, I can't quite remember exactly where we left off. But every single part of it, I can just read it over and over and over again. It's so sweet. Well, okay. I'm just going to read how Srila Prabhupada is bringing, this is actually called the Rasa Dance Introduction. And this is the chapter where Krishna becomes overwhelmed with the desire to meet with the gopis. And he plays on his flute on the full moon night, standing underneath a Vamshivat tree. You can go to that same location in Vrindavan. You can see the same exact location. There is also a banyan tree there at the present time. And it's a small courtyard right near to Gopishwar Mahadev temple in Shri Vrindavan Dham. And that place, Vamshivat, is the actual place where Krishna stood underneath that tree on the full moon night. And the whole description is here in the first shloka of this chapter, chapter 29. Chapter 29 through 33. These are the 5 chapters of Ras Leela, subject matter. So, here Srila Prabhupada is saying that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, And this is the only place where you're going to hear the full description. It is not given in any other Shastra. Only here in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. The full description of Krishna's meeting the gopis on the full moon night of the Sharat season, autumn season. So here, Prabhupada is saying that in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the rasa dance took place on the full moon night of the Sharad season. And from the statements of previous chapters, it appears that the festival of Govardhan Puja was performed just after the dark moon night of the month of Kartik. And thereafter, the ceremony of Bratri Dvitiya was performed. Bratri means brother. On that day, after Deepavali, on the dark moon night, then there are so many brothers and sisters who are giving these rakis to tie around their wrists. And so a benediction is there from Lord Yamaraj that if on that night brothers and sisters will give that raki to one another and take bath in the Yamuna River, then they will be fully protected, spiritually and materially. Now, one thing that has to be mentioned is that there's two prominent Ras Leela dances described in the Shastra. This one, from the autumn season, and then in Jayadev Goswami's book, Gita Govinda. The whole book is describing the incredible poetry of Jayadev Goswami and how Radha and Krishna are meeting and separating on the full moon night of the spring season. Spring season is called Vasanta. So the Vasanti Ras is described there. And that description, in both cases, Krishna left the rasa dance and the gopis followed. But in the springtime rasa dance, all of our acharyas have proclaimed that that rasa dance is superior in a number of ways. Because especially who were the gopis that were attending this. And in that rasa dance, Krishna noticed that Srimati Radharani had left. She was not there. In the first one, Krishna left. And the gopis were searching for Krishna. But actually Krishna took Radharani with him. That is understood later on, and we will read that and hear all about it. But they didn't know that until they saw the footprints on the ground and in the forest as they were searching for Krishna. So, but in the springtime, Vasanti Ras, Srimati Radhika alone, she left. And when Krishna suddenly noticed, immediately he noticed. How did he notice? Because what he was tasting, what he was relishing with all the billions of gopis, it suddenly went down. And he noticed Srimati Radhika was not there. Why did Srimati Radhika leave? All of these mysterious points are brought up by our acharyas. But in both these cases, the scene was being prepared for the exchange of tremendous, unparalleled rasa. That's why it's called ras dance, because of rasa, unlimited rasa. But without Srimati Radhika there, Krishna himself, we have the words of Krishna. When he saw that Srimati Radhika had left, then he says, oh, my pran priyatama. Without you, there is no ras. So there cannot be a rasa dance without Srimati Radharani and Krishna. Now, how many rasa dances took place? We know by what is being presented here that Krishna was approximately 8 years of age when this Sharadiya rasa dance took place. He was about 8 years of age. When he lifted Govardhan Hill, he was 7 years. But one thing that we should all know, we understood this very early on in our spiritual lives because we read the Nectar of Devotion of Srila Prabhupada's. That is the summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We read that. And there it's described that for a great personality, even though he's a child, but he's a very great personality, he or she, how quickly do they mature? We know that there's a certain rate at which children gradually mature, and they grow through their childhood age into their, what is called Pauganda. It's the age between childhood and youth. And so there's a certain rate that if you see a 10-year-old child, 11-year-old child like you have, you will see they look like they're 11 years old. But for great personalities, they mature 1.5 times as fast as ordinary. So although Krishna was technically 8 years old, but really he was 12 years old, approximately. 11 something. That's the description of the Acharyas. Why? Because when Krishna left Braj, you know when Krishna left Braj? 10 years and 8 months old he was. When Akrura's chariot came to take Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura, Krishna was 10 years old and 8 months old. But if you multiply that times 1.5, then what do you find? That he was like 15 years old or 16 years old. So it is described that the eternal age of Krishna and his consorts and so forth, it becomes completed at the age of 16, and they never grow any older in Braj. Krishna is always sweet 16, we call in English. Sweet 16. Srimati Radhika. But as they're going through their pastimes in the 10th canto, they're also still growing and maturing. So this is the very beginning. This rasa dance is the beginning when Krishna danced with the gopis. He never danced with the gopis before this. And this took place after he lifted Govardhan Hill like this. But we also understand that actually every single night from the time that Krishna danced the first rasa dance until the time that he left Braja, every single night when it was a full moon night, there was a rasa dance. Did you know that? Did you know that? Вы знали в этом. Вы знали в этом. Нет. You didn't know that every single full moon night that Krishna is dancing the rasa dance? You didn't know this. Ты не знал. So foolish you are. No, if you go on Braj Mandala Parikrama, or you also read the Braj Mandala Parikrama book, then you will see that all throughout the 12 forests of Braja, all the different 12 forests, there are rasa stulis, they call them. There's like a monument created there, which indicates here is where Krishna danced Rasa Leela. Understand? But the only 2 rasa dances that are told from beginning to end is this one from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sharadiya Rasa. And the next one, as I told already, Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda, springtime, Vasanti Ras. But actually Krishna, every single full moon night, Krishna was dancing a rasa dance with the gopis in some part of Vraj. Okay? That's what he does. So the glories of the rasa dance are inconceivable. And the potency of hearing from authorized sources, the rasa dance is very powerful to captivate our heart, also to clean our heart. Yes. So that's why we're going to study these 5 chapters. We're going to taste and relish, and we're going to read Srila Gurudev's and all the different acharyas' commentaries on the Ras Leela. And that will take time. But we're going to continue to do that. So I told already, so Srila Prabhupada is describing that in this way, after Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, after Krishna rescued Nanda Maharaj from Varuna, and after Krishna showed the spiritual world, spiritual sky to the Brijabasis, then the full moon night of the Sharat season came to an end. So Krishna had to wait for another year after these incidents, after the Govardhan Hill lifting and so forth. So then it took place the next year. So, and we also know that the young unmarried gopi girls, they wanted to perform a vrata, a vow, to please Goddess Katyayani. And Goddess Katyayani is actually Yogamaya Devi, but she has that name Katyayani. So these gopis, they were younger, they were around 10 years of age, something like that. And they performed this vrat right now at this time of the year. Actually, it was last month. The month after Kartik is the month when the gopis performed this Katyayani vrat. And what was their objective? What did they want to achieve by the vrat? Whenever there's a vrat, someone has a desire to attain something. So what did they want to attain? That Krishna will be their husband. Krishna will be their muj. Yes? Is that correct? Muj. So, their desire was fulfilled by Krishna because he came there. And what did he do? He did something very mischievous, but something that also indicated that, yes, I'm accepting your desire and I'm fulfilling your desire. And what was that? When the gopis were bathing in the Yamuna River, they had put all of their clothing on the bank. And then while they were in the Yamuna River, and it was cold at that time, the month of December like that, and they were shivering in the water, but they were doing their vrat, and then Krishna came, and it was time for them to come out. But Krishna had taken all their clothes and brought it up into a tree, and he's sitting in the tree and looking at the gopis and talking with them. There's a very sweet exchange. Actually, there's no material lust there at all. Only love, pure love. So Krishna fulfilled their desire. They had to come out from the Yamuna. And then they had to come and take their clothing from Krishna. So Krishna told them that in the coming full moon nights, your desire will be fulfilled. So Krishna remembered this, and then 1 year later, now on the full moon night, that's another reason why Krishna called on his flute. Yes, so actually, you know that Krishna, he is called Atmaram. You know this word, Atmaram? Ty znajesz. Wuj znajem. Huh?
Self-satisfied.
What?
Self-satisfied.
Yes. Krishna has no desire that is not already fulfilled. He's Atma Rama. He himself is fully self-satisfied. Fully. And then there's also another description that he's also called Aptakam. Aptakam. That means if there is a desire that he wants to fulfill, he's also capable of making the arrangements to fulfill that desire. Understand? Krishna can do that. So Krishna is Atmaram and he's also Aptakam. He's Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is full of what? 6 opulences. He's Bhagavan. 6 opulences. But Krishna still had a desire to do what? To enjoy the company of the gopis in the rasa dance. He had that desire. So here it's telling that because Krishna is Bhagavan, therefore this rasa dance and the meeting with the gopis is never can be compared to the ordinary dancing of young boys and young girls in this material world, which is simply full of very degraded, lusty desires. So they want to satisfy their own senses. So that is called the kingdom of Mahamaya. This material universe is the Mahamaya. But Krishna's dancing is Yogamaya, on the platform of Yogamaya. So, what is the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya? A comparison is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, there are 2 different metals. There are many, many different types of metals. One is called gold. Gold is actually a metal. But another metal is what? Iron. You know iron? Huh? So if you compare gold to iron, there's practically no similarity between gold and iron. Understand? Huh? If I have a piece of shining pure gold right here and a lump of iron, you can easily see the difference. Yes? Ile niet. Da, ile niet. Can you see the difference with your eyes? Yes. Everything about it is superior. So, the rasa dance with the gopis is considered to be like gold. And the ordinary dancing in the material world between young boys and girls is considered to be like iron. Completely different in quality. So, similarly, Krishna's rasa dance, it appears to resemble, similar to the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls. But the quality is completely different. So this difference is greatly appreciated by the Vaishnavas, because they can understand the difference between love of Krishna and lust. They can understand. So in this way, in this chapter, Prabhupada is continuing on and describing about this topic, about the difference between the love for Krishna and the ordinary sense gratification of the material world. So then Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna enjoyed the rasa dance with the gopis when he was 8 years old, as we already told, right? So, and at that time, many of the gopis were married. Even though they were so young, they were married. Because according to the Vedic culture, they would get married at a very early age. And there are many circumstances where these young girls gave birth to a baby at the age of 12. See? Nowadays you don't see that happening. Very rare. But in India, it still happens to some extent. And illicit affairs end up like that. So, all the gopis, they wanted to have Krishna as their husband, but actually they were already married. So, they continued to hope that Krishna would be their husband. And their attitude toward Krishna was that of what is called paramur love. We discussed this the other day. Paramur love. And so what is that? What is the term? It's called parakya rasa. Parakya rasa. Very important nomenclature. Parakya. No, so if a man is married, but he desires another wife, or a wife who desires another husband, that is called parakya rasa in the material world. But it is degraded. But in the spiritual world, actually Krishna is the husband of everyone. Actually Krishna is everyone's husband. Why? Because he is the supreme enjoyer. Everyone belongs to Krishna. Now the gopis, they wanted Krishna to be their husband. But factually there was no possibility of Krishna marrying all the gopis. Because that will not happen in Braj. But because they had that natural tendency to accept Krishna as their supreme husband, so the relationship between the gopis and Krishna is called parakya rasa. And this parakya rasa is ever existent in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky. And there is no possibility that the inebriety, which is in the material world, for this kind of parakya rasa in the material world, no possibility that it can be there in the spiritual world. In the material world, the parakya rasa is abominable. Remember? Ujjasni. But in the spiritual world, it's the highest beautiful gem. So, and it is present there, this parakya rasa is present with Krishna in the spiritual world in many super excellent relationships of Krishna and the gopis. So, out of all the 5 rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, actually Shanta, but there's no pure Shanta in the spiritual, in Krishna's kingdom. Shanta rasa is there, but it's not pure Shanta rasa. Why? Because even the trees, they feel a mood towards Krishna, that Krishna is their beloved. Even the trees feel that in Golok. So everything is mixed. All the Shanta Rasa is mixed. Even the water, even the clouds, even the inanimate objects, they all have relationship with Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. So what is this material world? It is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. It's a reflection. And it is just like the example of a tree on the bank of a river. And then in the tree reflection, the topmost part of the tree is bottom, at the bottom. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada continues on talking about how this transcendental Parakiya Ras, it cannot be enjoyed in the material world. No. So, then there's the statement of the Taj Mahal. You know the Taj Mahal? Everybody knows that name throughout the world. But on this particular night of the Sharat season, the full moon night, many, many people go there to this Taj Mahal to see how the moon is reflecting at night, on that night. So, when the full moon rose in the east, as Krishna was in the forest of Vrindavan, when that full moon rose in the eastern sky, then everything, the whole sky, it became tinged with a very beautiful reddish color. And with the rising of the moon, then the whole sky, it appeared to be smeared by what? Red kunkum, like powder. And this kunkum is always used when a husband who has gone traveling and now he's returning after a long time of separation from his wife, then when he returns back, he decorates the face of his wife with this red kunkum. So, this long-expected moonrise of the Sharat season was thus smearing the eastern sky. And the appearance of the moon, it increased Krishna's desire to dance with the gopis. Yes. Then the forests also, they were filled with very fragrant flowers. And that fragrance was going everywhere in the forest. The atmosphere was also very cooling and very festive. So when Lord Krishna began to blow his flute, what happened? The gopis all over Vrindavan, they became completely enchanted. And their attraction to the vibration of the flute, it increased 1,000 times. Why? Due to the rising full moon. And all of these other factors, it increased their desire and their enchantment by hearing Krishna's flute. And the red horizon also helped that to increase. And the calm and cool atmosphere, the blossoming flowers, their desire was increased 1,000-fold. So all the gopis, they were all by nature very much attracted to Krishna's beauty. Yes? Aren't all the gopis attracted to Krishna's beauty? Yes? Isn't that the nature of the gopis? That they're always very, very much attracted to Krishna's beauty? Huh? Yes. So, when they heard the vibration of his flute, they became apparently, outwardly, it looked like they became lustful. But actually, this desire was to satisfy the senses of Krishna. not to satisfy their own senses. If it was to satisfy their own senses, it would not be transcendental, it would be material lust. And there is no lust in the rasa dance. So, what happened then? Now, here's very important. The description of the gopis hearing the sound of Krishna's flute while they're in their houses, in the village. They're in their houses, and they're doing different household activities. But one thing I want to tell about Krishna's flute sound is Krishna's special messenger. Did you know that? Krishna's flute is Krishna's special messenger. And when Krishna blows on his flute, he can project a message that only certain persons will hear. Others will not hear that message. They will hear the sound of the flute, but they will not hear the actual message that the flute is telling. You see? So, that sound of Krishna's flute came into all the different houses. And what happened then? Immediately, instantaneously, when they heard the vibration of Krishna's flute, all the gopis completely left. They stopped what they were doing, all their different engagements. And what did they do? They left, they went out of the house, they proceeded to the spot where Krishna was standing. And while they ran very swiftly, their earrings were swinging back and forth. There's a very beautiful something, Lola Kundala, means that the kundala, the earrings, that they were swinging back and forth, and they were moving very, very quickly into the forest. So they all rushed towards this place known as Vamshivat. Okay? So now there's a description of a few of the different gopis, what they were doing in the house. Some they were milking cows. But as soon as they heard the sound of the flute, what did they do? They did not finish milking the cows. They immediately went to Krishna. Every single one of the gopis did not finish what they were doing. As soon as they heard, they left. Then another gopi collected the milk and was putting it in a pot on the stove to boil the milk. But when she heard the sound of Krishna's flute, she left. And she didn't care that the milk was there boiling and the milk boiled over, all of that. Some of them were even breastfeeding their small babies. And then others were engaged in distributing food to the members of their families. But they left all such engagements. Immediately they rushed towards the spot where Krishna was playing his flute. Now some of them, they were also engaged in serving their husbands. And some of them were also engaged in eating. But caring neither to serve their husbands nor to eat, they immediately left. Immediately. Some of them, they wanted to decorate their faces with cosmetic ointments. They wanted to dress themselves very nicely before going to Krishna. But unfortunately, they could not finish their cosmetic decorations. Or they could not even put their clothes on correctly because of their anxiety to meet Krishna immediately. Their faces were decorated very hurriedly and haphazardly finished, not nicely done. No. They did not put on all their different cosmetics nicely. And even when they were dressing themselves, the lower part of their clothes, they were not aware. They were putting it on the upper part of their body, and they were putting the upper clothes on the lower part. So while all the gopis were very hurriedly leaving their respective places, what happened? Their husbands, their brothers, their fathers, they were completely struck with wonder to know where they were going. And being young girls, they were protected either by their husbands or their elder brothers or their fathers. In Vedic culture, a woman is always under protection throughout her whole life. In childhood, she's protected by her father. Then when she gets older, she's protected by her husband. Then when she gets older, she's protected by her grown-up sons and so forth. But a woman in Vedic culture is never independent. Now we see quite different situation in the material world. Now, these girls, these gopi girls, they were very young. And actually, as they were leaving, all of their guardians, means their husbands, their elder brothers, their father, they were forbidding them to go. You cannot go. But they disregarded them. The gopis did not listen to them at all. And they went straight to Krishna, into the forest. So, here Prabhupada is telling us that when a person becomes attracted by Krishna, and that person is in full Krishna consciousness now, then he does not care for any of the worldly duties of this world. Even though they are very urgent, they should be done. But he doesn't care, because he's completely attracted to Krishna, and he's fully conscious of Krishna at every moment. So Prabhupada is saying that this Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it gives everyone relief from all material activities. So, Srila Rupa Goswami has written a very nice verse where one gopi is giving advice to another gopi. And the one gopi is saying, "Oh, my dear friend, if you actually desire to continue to enjoy the company of your material society, your family, all your friends, and materialistic love, then please don't go to the bank of the Yamuna where that smiling boy who's named Govinda, he is standing on the bank of the Yamuna and he's playing his flute. His lips are brightened by the beams of the full moonlight in the sky. Don't go to see him." Rupa Goswami is given the warning. Why? Because if you go to see him, what will happen? You'll not be able to enjoy any more in the material world. All these temporary relationships of this world. Even if you're in the relationships, but you will be internally always remembering Krishna. It doesn't mean that you will not look after your duties. For example, a mother has some children, some big responsibilities like this. But the more that someone becomes attached and attracted to Krishna, then their attachment is no more for anyone in the material world. It doesn't mean that they will not continue to look after family members, but they will not feel this pull of attraction. So, That's why the advice is being given here. Now, what is Rupa Goswami actually instructing? Because according to the verse, there's one gopi that's telling the other gopi, oh my dear Saki, if you want to continue to enjoy, don't go there to the Yamuna. Don't go to the Yamuna. Because when you see that smiling face of Govinda, you will not be able to return to your material happiness of this world, so-called. But actually, Rupa Goswami is giving an indirect instruction that yes, you should go. You should become captivated by the beautiful smiling face of Krishna. Because if you do, you will lose all attraction for material enjoyments. So Prabhupada is saying here, this is the test how you can know if someone has advanced in Krishna consciousness. Right? How can you know? Because you will see detachment if someone has advanced in Krishna consciousness. So, a person who's advancing in Krishna consciousness, he must lose interest in material activities and also personal sense gratification. If he's advancing in Krishna consciousness. Now, if you tell this to ordinary people of this world, they'll not appreciate this. Right? Because as you can see, even here in India, and you just look at the general society, and all you see is family life. Family and children and the whole thing. This is going on in a big way. This is happening. So, but that is not that is not actual Vedic civilization. That is not actual Vedic civilization. To just engage in family life. Do the dogs have family life? Do the dogs on the street? I see them every single day from my veranda. I know which one is the daughter of who. Huh? I know the one-legged dog who's just only is missing one leg. Huh? And I see how they live as a family on the street. This morning, as I was watching, I noticed one thing. He's looking for a jacket. Oh, okay. Chadar. Okay. Do you know that a dog has a mystic power? Prabhupada explained this, that every living entity, all the different species, they all have mystic powers. They're given by Krishna, mystic power. Do you know what the mystic power of a dog is? Dogs can do something that human beings cannot do. Do you know what that is? Huh? Come on, use your intelligence. What is the mystic power of a dog? Humans cannot do. That's true. They have various mystic powers, but there's one in particular that the dog can do that human beings cannot do. The dog sleeps, yes? Does a dog sleep? You see them in the early morning, after the night is finished, they're all lying. They're all lying here and there, sleeping. And they more or less sleep throughout the whole day. But I was watching this morning, as I was chanting on my veranda, I noticed, oh, this dog is sleeping. And I'm just looking at the dog. And the dog had his family member went by, one of the other dogs. But he didn't open his eyes or anything. He just continued sleeping there. But within 10 seconds later, from a little bit of a distance, he heard the barking of his family member. And instantaneously, he was completely asleep. The next moment he's up and he went walking there. That's the mystic power of a dog. No human being can be asleep and then suddenly wake up, and suddenly it takes a little time. But the dog has 0 time required. Understand? This is the mystic power of the dog. Prabhupada said. Humans cannot do that. So the dog is living in family life. Yes? The dog is living family. How about the monkeys? Do they have family life? The monkeys. You see them all the time. They're always with their family members. And the smaller monkeys, like this. Every species of life has family life. And that is why the 4 activities of the animals are what? Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maitunam. Ahara means they eat. An animal eats, human being eats. Animal sleeps, human being sleeps. Animal defends itself. Animals do. Human beings also do, with big bombs that they drop. You see? And Maitunam. They mate together and they produce offspring. So this is the ordinary course of activity in the material world in every species of life. But that is not the purpose of the human body. Just to do these 4 activities. Not at all. Not the purpose. The purpose of the human form of life is to develop our eternal relationship with Krishna, which has been forgotten. So Prabhupada is saying that the gopis, they were always advanced. They were so advanced in their Krishna consciousness that they had no attachment to any material activities or to their own personal sense gratification. Now, when the flute sound came, some of the gopis, they were stopped from going to Krishna. Who stopped them? Their husbands. And the gopis then were forcibly taken to their rooms and locked in their rooms. Some of those gopis, not all. Some of the gopis. So, they were locked in their rooms by their relatives. So they could not go to Krishna. And what did they do then? They began to meditate upon Krishna's transcendental form by closing their eyes as they were locked in their rooms. They already had Krishna's form in their minds already. And who were these gopis? They're the greatest of all yogis. Like yogis sit, they try to become absorbed in samadhi. The gopis were hundreds of times, thousands of times better meditators than the yogis. They were fully absorbed in Krishna's transcendental form. So then Prabhupada says that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that a person who is constantly thinking of Krishna within his heart, with faith and with love, then that person is considered to be the topmost of all yogis. So actually, what does a yogi do? Yogis concentrate their minds on the form of Lord Vishnu. That's what yogis do. And that is real yoga, actually. But Krishna is the original form of all the forms of Vishnu. All the Vishnu Tattva forms, Krishna is the origin of all of them. So the gopis who could not personally go to Krishna, they began to meditate on him just like perfect yogis. Okay, you have this picture in your mind now? That these gopis were kept back by their husbands and brothers. They were locked in a room. And what did they do? They became absorbed in Krishna. It is not told here, but in the other purports of the Acharyas, actually, is very interesting how Yogamaya arranged for those gopis to go to Krishna. Because their bodies, which were known by their husbands, they actually burnt up in the fire of separation. And Yogamaya gave them another body. And in that body, now they had no attachment at all to their husbands and so forth. And they went to Krishna. So, here Prabhupada is telling that the conditioned life, the conditioned stage of all the living entities, there are only two types of results that come from their activities. The conditioned living entity who is constantly engaged in sinful activities, what is the result? Only suffering is the result. Someone who's doing sinful activities, they get a lot of suffering as the result, life after life. But he who is engaged in pious activities, then they get material enjoyment as a result. But in both of these cases, whether it's material suffering or material enjoyment, that person who is suffering and enjoying, they're both conditioned by material nature. They're not liberated souls. They're conditioned. But the gopis associates, the gopi associates of Krishna, who came there to that place where Krishna was appearing in the forest, when they arrived there, Krishna was standing there with his flute, and he was underneath the banyan tree. So all the gopi associates of Krishna, actually, they were coming from different groups, these gopis. Here, Prabhupada is explaining what is told by the Acharyas. In the Brahma Samhita, for example, in the Brahma Samhita, the spiritual in the spiritual world, the associates of Krishna, especially the gopis, it is told Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabi. That means actually they're manifestations of what? The pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. The gopis are not of the material world at all. They're Ladini Shakti potency, expansions of Srimati Radhika. But when Krishna, when he exhibits his transcendental pastimes, his leelas within the material world, in some of the universes, not only his eternal associates come with him from the spiritual world, but there's another category of jivas that are with Krishna when he performs his pastimes here in the material world. So, who are they? These are jivas who are being promoted to this status that now they can take birth in Vraj, they can have their spiritual body of a gopi, and now they can meet Krishna in the spiritual pastimes. So here in the material world, when Krishna descends, like he did 5,000 years ago, then that place Braj, and also Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu descended right here. So these are transcendental places. They're not material places of this world, although we perceive them to be like that, but no, they're eternal. So some of the gopis who took birth there in Braj, and they joined Krishna's pastimes within this material world, they actually were coming from the status of ordinary human beings in their previous births. They were human beings, ordinary. They're not coming down from the spiritual world. This is a category of some of the gopis. Because if these gopis had actually been still bound by their fruitive actions, their karma, then they were fully freed from these reactions of karma by doing what? Constantly meditating on Krishna. And they were yearning in their heart to be with Krishna. This was actually very severely painful, their feelings of separation from Krishna, spiritual yearning. And like the gopis who were locked away in their rooms, they were yearning for Krishna. And that ecstasy of transcendental love for Krishna, it ended all of their reactions to their material pious activities. They were all finished by that desire of the gopis. So, the conditioned soul in this world, he is subjected to birth and death. Why? Why are we taking birth and dying in this material world? Because of pious or sinful activities. But the gopis who began to meditate on Krishna, they completely transcended all positions, and they became completely purified, and they became elevated to the status of the gopis, already expanded by his pleasure potency. So all the gopis who concentrated their minds on Krishna in the spirit of paramour love, they became fully purified of all the fruitive reactions of material nature. And some of them immediately gave up their material bodies, which were developed under the three modes of material nature. So Maharaj Parikshit, when he heard Sukadeva Goswami explaining the situation of the gopis who assembled with Krishna in the rasa dance, when he heard that some of the gopis, simply by concentrating on Krishna as their paramour, that they became freed from all contamination of material birth and death, then Maharaj Parikshit said, the gopis, they did not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The gopis, they didn't know that Krishna is God. But they accepted him as a very beautiful boy, and they considered him to be their paramour. So the question that he asked, Maharaj Parikshit asked to Sukadeva Goswami, how was it possible for them to get freed from the material condition just by thinking of a paramour? How was that possible? So one should consider here that Krishna and the ordinary living beings, they're actually qualitatively the same. Krishna and the living beings are actually qualitatively the same. because we're parts and parcels of Krishna. And the ordinary living beings, being part and parcel of Krishna, they're also called Brahman. But Krishna is the supreme Para-Brahman. So the question is, if it is possible for a devotee to get free from the material contaminated stage simply by thinking of Krishna, then why should this not be possible for others who are also thinking of someone? Understand the question? They didn't know Krishna's God, they're thinking of Him, and they became free from material conditioned life. So why can't this also be possible for others who are also thinking of someone? But if one is thinking of a husband or a son, or if anyone at all is thinking of another living entity, then, since all the living entities are also Brahman, why are all those who thus think of others, why are they not freed from the contaminated stage of material nature, just by thinking of someone? And this is a very intelligent question. Why? Because there are always atheists who are trying to imitate Krishna. That goes on, here in India especially. Atheistic persons, they want to imitate Krishna. And in these days of the Kali Yuga, there are many rascals who think themselves to be as good as Krishna, and who cheat people into believing that thinking of them is as good as thinking of Lord Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj, he understood that in the future this dangerous condition of the blind followers, of demoniac imitators, this will be coming in the future. So therefore, Maharaj Parikshit asked this question. And fortunately, it's recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam to warn innocent people that thinking of an ordinary man and thinking of Krishna are not the same. Okay. So I want, for a couple of minutes, I just want to use the bathroom for a couple of minutes. And so what you should do is you should continue to read to them the Russian. And I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay? You continue to read the Russian.
Шукадева Госвами сказал далее, что Кришна не отличный человек, он не настолько вечен, не поддающийся измерениям, не имеющий определенных качеств, но в полной мере обладающий всеми духовными качествами. Он, Господь, приходит в материальный мир, по своим исключениям милости, и всегда является таким, какой он есть, не изменяясь. Это подтверждается в Бхагавад-гите. Господь говорит, что он использует свои духовные энергии, любовь не понуждает к этой материальной энергии, которая сама находится во власти. В Бхагавад-гите говорится, что материальная энергия действует по другому закону. Помните это? Рождает проявленный материальный мир и сердечные неподвижные существа, так как выставится вновь и вновь. 10 стих. Так. Браха Самхите также утверждается, что материальная энергия дурна действует подобно тени, которая дух человеческого предмета. Поэтому то, что так или иначе привязаны к Кришне, кого привлекли к нему совершенство, красота, богатство, слава, сила, решенность и знания, кто обратился к нему или дружбу, рождению или страх, непременно будет спасен. Числится, тот упрямится к верам. Ислам говорит о Бхагавад-гите, Господь говорит, что мне очень дорог камень, кто проповедует знание Кришны. В борьбе за распространение чистого сознания Кришна проповедник вынужден преодолевать много трудностей. Иногда ему приходится терпеть пробои, иногда даже встречаться со смертью. Все это великие испытания, которые проповедник подвергает ради Кришны. Поэтому Кришна говорит, что такой человек будет много дорого. Даже если враги Кришны могут надеяться со всеми, когда сосредотачивают на нем свои мысли, что тогда говорит о тех, кто очень дорого Господа, всюду следующий, те, кто проявляет в этом мире сознание Кришны, непременно получит освобождение. По таких проповедников и не думают о освобождении, но тот, кто действует в сознании Кришны, а преданно служит Господу, уже освобожден. Так, что было с нами, поэтому завеет, когда пришел, что человек объект привязан с Кришной, неважно, творение, физических сил, богов и собрались перед Кришной. Он приветствует. В то же время разговаривает с Богом, и Кришна старался раскрывать из одних слов. Кришна, непревзойденный мастер слова, он не проверил на золото, и не философии, политики, понятия, словом во всем. Теперь, он говорит, очень дорогим и любовным. Никто хотел смутить его слов, он даже сказал, о, женщина, великое ваше счастье, без сила очень дорого, я рад, что пришли. Я надеюсь, что вы дал мне все благополучно. Теперь скажите, что я могу для вас сделать, зачем вы явились в эту ночь? Прошу вас, садитесь и скажите, чем я могу вас служить. Боги пришли, чтобы общаться с Кришной, танцевать с ним, обнимать и целовать. И но когда Кришна обратился к ним так холодно, соблюдая приличия, они были удивлены. Он обращался с ними, как с обычными мирскими женщинами, улыбаясь, будто приглядываясь. И хотя внимательно слушали речи Кришны, были озадачены. Когда Кришна стал поучаться, давай подруги, вы же знаете, что сейчас будет немножко и все, еще так. Это не I stopped in place when Krishna met and spoke with God.
about he's starting to question them.
Yes, it's like what I should do, what I should do, why
Yes. Yes. Okay, we'll continue for a few more minutes and then we'll finish the class. So I'll continue now. Okay, so when the gopis finally assembled there with Krishna, then Krishna began to speak to them. And what did he do? He was welcoming them. But he was discouraging them at the same time. Discouraging. And how was he doing it? With word jugglery. That term is used here. Krishna was juggling his words and saying very clever things. So although he was welcoming them there, that had just come from their houses and now they arrived there, and Krishna was welcoming them. But he was also discouraging them. So how is that? Now is being explained that Krishna, he's actually the supreme speaker. No one can speak like Krishna. No one. He's the supreme speaker. He's also the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the supreme transcendental knowledge. And he can speak on the highest elevated subjects of philosophy. He can speak on politics, economics, anything Krishna can speak on. And he also spoke before the gopis. And the gopis were so dear to Krishna. But he wanted to enchant them, to enchant them by his word jugglery. So he began to speak to them. He said, "Oh, ladies of Vrindavan, you are very fortunate, and you are very dear to me. I am very much pleased that you have come here. And I hope that everything is well in Vrindavan. Now, please order to me, what can I do for you?" This is a very big curiosity for the gopis. They had just left everything. And Krishna is saying, "I'm very pleased that you came here. I'm sure that everything is okay now in your Vrindavan village. So you should tell me, what can I do for you?" And they're stunned, because they thought that Krishna was going to immediately reciprocate with them and their feelings. But actually Krishna had a different idea. He wanted to enchant them so much. So then he asked to them, "What is the purpose of your coming here to me in the dead of night? Right in the middle of the night, it's dark. So I want to know from you why you have come. And you should have a nice seat, take your seats, and let me know what I can do for you." But this was very strange for the gopis. Now the gopis, they had come there, why? Why did the gopis come there? They came there to enjoy his company, to dance with him, to embrace him, to kiss him. And when Krishna began to receive them very officially, showing all kinds of special etiquette, they were surprised. He was treating them like ordinary society women. Krishna was treating them. So therefore they began to smile amongst themselves. Can you imagine? Like, they're smiling to each other? What's going on? Huh? And although they very eagerly were listening to Krishna, who was talking to them in that way, but they were surprised. They were surprised. They weren't expecting this from Krishna. Now, Krishna began to instruct them. My dear friends, you must know that it is now the dead of night, and the forest is very dangerous. At this time, all the ferocious jungle animals, they're prowling everywhere in the forest. Like which animals? Tigers, bears, jackals, wolves. All these ferocious animals are everywhere in the forest now. It's the nighttime. So it's very dangerous for you, O gopis. You cannot select a secure place where you will be safe now. You're in the middle of the forest. And everywhere you go, you will find that all these animals, they are waiting here and there. They're looking for another animal to eat. Yes. So I think, therefore, that you are taking a very great risk in coming here in the dead of night. So please, turn back immediately, without delay. This is what Krishna is telling to the gopis. And when he saw that they continued, even though he's speaking like this, but they continued to smile, so he said, I very much appreciate your beautiful bodily features. All of you have very nice thin waists. Then Prabhupada explains that all the gopis, they were exquisitely beautiful. Do you know that? There's no such thing as a gopi that's not exquisitely beautiful. And there's a word used in Sanskrit, in the verse, that they were called sumadhyama. Sumadhyama. What does that mean? This is the standard of beauty for a woman. She has to be sumadhyama. That means that the middle portion of the body is very slender. Not that the middle portion is very wide and big. No, that she's sumadhyama. That is the nature of the beauty of woman. And these gopis were the most beautiful in the creation. But Krishna wanted to impress upon them that they were not old enough yet to take care of themselves. So actually they required protection. And it was not very wise for them to come in the dead of night to Krishna. You see, this is the first time, you have to understand, in all the pastimes of Krishna, now he's 8 years old and the gopis are like that, and this is the first time that they're meeting secretly with Krishna in the forest. This is the first time. So he's telling to them that you have come here in the dead of night. It's very dangerous. And he also was telling that he was very young and they were young girls. So it does not look very well for young girls and boys to remain together in the dead of night. And then after hearing this advice, the gopis did not seem to be very happy at that point. No. So therefore, Krishna began to stress the point in a different way. That it's not good that you're here with me, young boy, young girl, in the middle of the night. But they were not happy now when they heard Krishna say that. But then he began to explain in a slightly different way. What did he say? He said, my dear friends, oh my gopi friends, I can understand that you have left your homes without the permission of your guardians. And therefore I think that your mothers and your fathers and your elder brothers and even your sons, what to speak of your husbands, they must be very anxious to find you. But as long as you are here, they must be searching in different places, and their minds must be very agitated. So don't go slowly. You should please go back, and make them all peaceful. When the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and also angry from hearing the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. Just so you can imagine, they just heard this from Krishna, but now they're just looking at the beauty of the forest. And at that time, the whole forest was illuminated by what? The bright shining of the moon. The forest was completely illuminated by the bright shining of the moon. The air was blowing very silently over the blossoming, blooming flowers. The green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. So Krishna took the opportunity of looking at the forest to advise them, because now they're looking at the forest. So he says, "Oh, I think you have come out here to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night." And then he said, "But you must now be satisfied. You've seen the forest, so return to your homes without delay. I understand that you are all very, very chaste women, so now that you have seen the beautiful atmosphere of the Vrindavan forest, please return home and engage in the faithful service of your respective husbands." Then he said, "Some of you must have babies even by this time, although you are very young. You must have left your small babies at home, and they must be crying. Please immediately go back home and just feed them with your breast milk. I can also understand that you have got very great affection for me, that I can understand. And out of that transcendental affection you have come here, hearing my playing on the flute. And your feelings of love and affection for me are very appropriate, because I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are affectionate to me. So this affection for me, it is very welcome, and I congratulate you for this. So now you can go back to your homes. Now you can go back. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, the service to her husband without duplicity, this is the best religious principle for a woman. Not only should a woman be faithful and chaste to her husband, but she should also be affectionate to the friends of her husband. She must be obedient to the father and mother of her husband, and she must be affectionate to the younger brothers of her husband. And most importantly, a woman must take care of her children. So in this way, Krishna explained the duty of a woman. And he also stressed the point of serving the husband. And then Krishna even told that even if your husband is not of very good character, even if he is not very rich or very fortunate, or even if he is old or invalid on account of continued diseases, whatever her husband's condition, a woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be elevated to the higher planetary systems after leaving this body. And besides that, it is considered to be abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and goes searching for another man. Krishna is telling to the gopis all these religious principles of wives toward the husbands. He's telling them all these. So he said, it is considered very abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and she goes searching for another man. Such habits will deter a woman from being elevated to the heavenly planets. And the result of such habits are very degrading. So a married woman should not search for a paramour, because this is not sanctioned by the Vedic principles of life. If you think that you are very much attached to me and you want my association, do the gopis want the association of Krishna? Yes. Are the gopis very attached to Krishna? Yes. So Krishna is saying, if you think that you are very attached to me, you want my association, I advise you not to personally try to enjoy me. It is better for you to go home, simply talk about me, and think of me, and then by this process of constantly remembering me and chanting my names, then you will surely be elevated to the spiritual platform. And there is no need to stand so near to me. So please, go back home. Understand? This conversation can be studied from many angles. And when we read from the book, the Ras Panchadhyay book, we'll hear all the different commentaries of the acharyas and so forth. But we should understand that the gopis did not expect this from Krishna. Did they expect that Krishna would tell them to go back home? No. But anyway, Prabhupada is saying that the instruction that Krishna gave here, who is Krishna? He's Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's given this instruction to the gopis, that they should do all these things. So actually, Krishna was not being sarcastic. Such instruction should be taken very seriously by all honest women. The chastity of women is specifically stressed herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this principle, it should be followed by any serious woman who wants to be elevated to a higher status of life. Now, Krishna is the center of all affection for all living creatures. Did you know that? Krishna is the center of affection for all living creatures. I'm reading, so you can find that same spot. When this affection for Krishna, when it is developed for Krishna, then that person surpasses, he transcends all the Vedic injunctions. Very important point. What Krishna is telling to them are the Vedic injunctions. But Krishna also knows that they're far beyond all the Vedic injunctions. Krishna knows that. But he's teasing them. Still, he's telling the truth, that a woman should be chaste and faithful to the husband. So, but actually Krishna, he's the center of all affection for all the living creatures. All different species, everything. Krishna is the center of affection. And when this affection is developed for Krishna, then one surpasses and also transcends all of the Vedic injunctions. So this was not possible for any women in the conditioned state. This was possible only for the gopis because they saw Krishna face to face. But unfortunately, in this world, sometimes a rascal, following the philosophy of oneness, monism, he very irresponsibly takes advantage of this Ras Leela to imitate the behavior of Krishna with the gopis. He entices many innocent women and misleads them in the name of spiritual realization. So as a warning, Lord Krishna has herein hinted that what was possible for the gopis, it is not possible for ordinary women. Although a woman can actually be elevated by advanced Krishna consciousness, so she should not be enticed by an impostor who says that he is Krishna. She should concentrate her devotional activities in chanting about Krishna and meditating upon Krishna as it is advised here. And one should not follow the men called sahajiyas, the so-called devotees who take everything very lightly. So when Krishna spoke to the gopis in this discouraging way, they became very sad, for they thought that their desire to enjoy the rasa dance with Krishna would be frustrated. And thus they became full of anxiety. And out of great sadness, the gopis began to breathe very heavily. And instead of looking at Krishna face to face, they bowed their heads, they looked at the ground, and they began to draw various types of curved lines on the ground with their toes. And they were shedding heavy tears. Their cosmetic decorations were being washed from their faces. The water from their eyes mixed with the kumkum on their breasts, and it fell to the ground. They could not say anything to Krishna, but simply they stood there silently. And by their silence, they expressed that their hearts were grievously wounded. The gopis, they were not ordinary women. In essence, they were on an equal level with Krishna. They are his eternal associates. So, as it is confirmed in Brahma Samhita, actually they are expansions of the pleasure potency of Krishna. And as his potency, they are non-different from him. And although they were depressed by the words of Krishna, they did not like to use harsh words against him. Yet they wanted to rebuke Krishna. They wanted to rebuke Krishna for his unkind words. And therefore they began to speak in faltering voices. They did not like to use harsh words against Krishna because he was their dearmost. He's their heart and soul. So the gopis didn't want to speak harsh words. And the gopis had only Krishna within their hearts. And they were completely surrendered and completely dedicated souls. So naturally when they heard such unkind words, they tried to reply. But in the attempt to reply, torrents of tears fell from their eyes. Then finally they managed to speak. And what did they say? What did the gopis then say to Krishna? They said, Krishna, you are very cruel. You should not talk like that. We are full-fledged surrendered souls. Please accept us. And don't talk in that cruel way. Of course, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you can do whatever you like, but it is not worthy of your position to treat us in such a cruel way. We have come to you, leaving everything behind, just to take shelter of your lotus feet. And we know that you are completely independent and you can do whatever you like. But we request you, don't reject us. We are your devotees. You should accept us, just as Lord Narayan accepts his devotees. And there are many devotees of Lord Narayan who worship him for salvation, and he awards them salvation. So similarly, how can you reject us when we have no shelter other than your lotus feet? So now the gopis have put Krishna in a certain situation. They're saying, no, you cannot reject us. We cannot go back to our homes. They're saying, oh dear Krishna, you are the supreme instructor. That's true. There is no doubt about it. Your instructions to women to be faithful to their husbands, to be merciful to their children, take care of their household affairs, to be obedient to the elder members of the family. All these instructions are surely just according to the tenets of the Shastras. But we know that one may perfectly observe all these instructions of the Shastras by doing what? By keeping oneself under the protection of your lotus feet. Our husbands, our friends, our family members, children, they are all dear and pleasing to us. Only why? Because of your presence. For you are the super soul of all living creatures. And without your presence, anyone is worthless. So when you leave the body, then the body immediately dies. Because Krishna is in our heart. Yes? Krishna is in our heart. He's in this body with us, side by side. And the soul, at the time of death, leaves the body, but also Krishna leaves. And that's the reason, actually, why the body dies. So, when you leave the body immediately dies. And according to the injunction of the Shastras, then that dead body must immediately be thrown into a river or burned. So therefore, ultimately, you are the dearmost personality in this world. And by placing our faith and our love in your personality, we are assured of never being bereft of husband, friends, sons, or daughters. If a woman accepts you as the supreme husband, then she will never be bereft of her husband, as in the bodily concept of life. If we accept you as our ultimate husband, then there is no question of being separated, divorced, or widowed. You are the eternal husband. You are the eternal son. You are the eternal friend, and you are the eternal master. And one who enters into a relationship with you will be eternally happy. Since you are the teacher of all religious principles, your lotus feet have to be worshipped first, because that's the highest religious principle. So according to the Shastras, Acharya Upasana, that the worship of your lotus feet is the first principle. And besides that, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you are the only enjoyer. You are the only proprietor. And you are the only friend. So as such, we have come to you, leaving aside all so-called friends, so-called society and love. And now you have become our enjoyer. So let us be everlastingly enjoyed by you. Be our proprietor, for that is your natural claim, and be our supreme friend, for you are naturally so. Let us thus embrace you as the supreme beloved. So in this way, the gopis are defeating Krishna with their response. Krishna has given them an instruction to go back, but now they're explaining why that's not possible. So this is very sublime, all of these discussions and teachings. We will continue in our next class, and we will try to understand the significance of all the statements of the gopis. But we should know one thing, that the gopis are 100%, 100%. They're absorbed in Krishna at every single moment. They're not conditioned souls. And they have their relationship with Krishna as their most beloved. And that's why they're in Braj. Okay? So this is so sweet, this discussion of the Ras Leela dance and how Krishna called all the gopis to come, how they left everything for him, and then how Krishna is teasing them with his words, telling them to go back, telling them to serve their husbands like this. But they're responding to Krishna and saying, no, you are our real husband. You are our real beloved and friend and everything. Master, everything you are. So there's no other place that we can go. Because you should embrace us. Let us embrace you as our supreme beloved. So like this, we'll continue. In the next class, which will be the day after tomorrow, isn't it? Or wait, let me just look at the calendar. It will be on Tuesday. So then today is Saturday, so Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday is the next class, on the 7th. On the 7th. But Vrajavilasini will be leaving on the 6th. Yeah. In the evening of the 6th. No, when is her flight? When is her flight? On which day? On the 8th. What time? Her flight from Calcutta is at 7 o'clock in the morning. Right, so she has to leave from here by taxi at about 1 a.m. 1 o'clock a.m. And that is on the 7th or the 8th? On the 8th. Her flight is on the 8th. Oh, yeah. So her flight is on the 8th, Wednesday. So anyway, that means that she has 2 more days. Today is Saturday, so she has Sunday and Monday. But then on Tuesday, then she has to prepare everything because she'll be leaving at night on Tuesday. Tuesday the 7th and morning of the 8th. Like that. So Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai 10th Canto Dasha Skanda Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Rasa Panchadhyay Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Srila Gurudeva Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Vrindai Tulsidebai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevaja Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees. Vsia slava savravshyam sia priyadanim.